Obviously, I mean, the last couple of weeks you faced some very run-heavy offensive presences. How do you prepare a secondary to face, its first real passing challenge, and leading that challenge is one of the best quarterbacks in the country?
Yeah, I would say every single week you're preparing for the challenge. At practice we do Skelly or 7-on-7 twice a practice. We're seeing pass routes and we're preparing like the ball's coming to us every single time. But at the end of the day, these guys are going to throw the ball. I think they threw it 42 times on us last year. I can't remember exactly what it was. But obviously, they're going to put it in the air, but they want to be able to run the ball too. You're always up for the challenge. This is why you come here to play, so you can be placed in these positions to be able to make these plays. And it's up to us to go out there, challenge those receivers, challenge their quarterback, and make some plays on Saturday.
To us, it looked like Donovan was all over the place, making plays and looking really confident in his first start. What was your grade out on how he performed in his first start?
Donovan played well. Been noticing it, though. You got to look at it for Donovan. So he was at Florida. It was for 2 seasons. So he had 2 different DB coaches and 2 different defense coordinators. He came here last spring, so that's his 3rd coach, 3rd defense, 3 years. So for him, it's just been a progression and a process for him. You see it from the spring to the summer to camp. Then he gets in against Wofford. He had 14, 15 snaps against Wofford. You felt his comfortability. Then he gets in against Cincinnati. Then he ended up with 36 snaps against Cincinnati and finished that game as well. So you can see as he's coming along, his comfort level and getting comfort within our defense and comfort of being coached by myself as well, because that's a relationship piece too that he's got to have comfort with, of being able to go out there and execute his job. So you've been seeing it throughout these months of just him going out there and just gaining that confidence as he continues to understand the defense more. But he played very well on Saturday. He was leveraging the ball well and made some good tackles.
Yeah, Cory, what stands out to you about him as a tackler?
He's a good tackler. What you see is his wrestling background.
Yeah.
You see it, the way he scoops and goes after those legs and everything. So you can see the way he shoots on those tackles. You can see his wrestling background from high school. But he did a good job. I think he was in on 18 tackles. He had 1 missed tackle on Saturday that he was sprinting 40 yards across the field and just got a little bit high on the ball carrier, but was hustling his butt off and missed that one. But he's taking great angles, which he's improved on throughout the last few weeks. He was just physical. He came in there with some just passion and physicality on Saturday.
That position often makes a lot of tackles against a run-based offense, but how different is the challenge for him, specifically in his spot against this offense this week?
We'll see. I mean, these guys still want to run. They still line up in run formations and want to run the football as well. So he's still going to have his opportunities, but he'll have his opportunities to be able to cover too, which we got to get better at there, where we had 2 catches on us on Saturday. So there's some things, we're working on to get better there to make sure those we're better in those situations on Saturday. But he'll still have opportunities for himself this weekend.
What separates Drake Maye from some other quarterbacks around the country?
One thing that you notice, just as you put on the film right away on Sunday, that ball jumps out of his hand. You can really see that of just some of the field throws that he can make. Sometimes he's moving out of the pocket and he's throwing back across his body to the middle of the field. So you're seeing him throw multiple different throws on the field. You're seeing some corner routes, tight level 2 ball right there to that receiver, splitting some guys. So you can see that he's a quick processor, and at the same time too, he can escape. He can escape out of the pocket and extend plays. He's a good runner and he's a good thrower. So he's a dual threat type guy from that standpoint with a good arm.
They have the same quarterback, but it feels like their skill position's a lot different. What have you noticed about this year's skill group around Drake?
They got good players, but I mean, you go into UNC every single year. Downs was drafted in the 2nd round. I think they had 2 receivers drafted last year. Before they had another 2 receivers drafted. So they've had this year in and year out since we've been facing them. So they got another group. It's new guys, but you can see their athleticism. You can see them drop hips and some twitch and getting in and out of breaks. So it's a good group around them.
What's McCallum do well?
He's good. Well, you see, so we've faced him for 3 years now. So he was at Georgia Tech. I think he had 3 catches for 24 yards against us last year. 2 years ago, he had a 7 route on Hallett down there at Georgia Tech. But he's a quick twitch guy. They get him the ball on some jet sweeps and things like that. They get him the ball quick on some screens. And what happened was I don't think he played too much in the first 2 games. Then something happened on the outside, and they moved one of their slots outside and moved him into the slot, and he took advantage of his opportunity. I think it was 15 catches for 165 or 75 against Minnesota. So he's a quick guy. He tracks the ball well. He finds the ball, and he can make some moves after he gets the ball in his hands.
PJ had 0 snaps on Saturday. Was that a demotion, or is he all right? How has you seen him?
Yeah, he came out there and he practiced his tail off today. So he was a little bit banged up last week. A little bit later in the week. Then, so Donovan got the start, and Javon went out. We moved him to the field. And those 2 guys were just out there. They were playing well, and Donovan was moving around well. And it became a run-heavy game, okay? So it became a run-heavy game, which really plays into Donovan's favor there. So those guys were rolling, playing good, and we just kept the hot hand playing. So at the end of the day, PJ came out there, practiced his tail off today, came out there physical, had some good coverage reps, and was out there competing the same way with Steph as well, because both those guys saw reps in the first 2 games, and on Saturday we played with 2 guys and let those 2 roll, but the other 2 guys came out there competing and fighting and challenging for the spot to get their butts out there on Saturday, and they got to continue that Wednesday, Thursday, and for the rest of the week.
How important has the competition in your safeties room improved your players as a whole?
Competition is always good, right? So if you come in here every single day and you don't got somebody behind you pushing you, human nature is to be complacent and lazy. That's reality. I don't care what we do. If it's football, it doesn't matter. It's your job, the next man's job, whatever it is. So you got to have competition to maximize who you are. And at the end of the day, those guys coming in there pushing those are only going to make Donovan and Javon practice harder. And you know what? If they don't practice hard, well, they might not be playing next game either. You know what I mean? So that's what competition is. And if you have a good program, you should have that competition in those spots. So we're glad, and you know what? Those guys invite the competition, because at the same time, even though they're competing for the spot, they're still helping each other, and they know whoever comes to the top, that's going to be the best for the team. So they love the competition and challenging each other every day.
On the note of on the note of competition, I mean, this was a passing attack that caused some problems against your secondary last year, especially in the second half. Do you think that those guys hold on to that? Guys who were around last year, do you think that they have a little bit more of a spark heading into this one, trying to get their get back?
Yeah, I would say, at the end of the day, we're starting ACC play.
Yeah.
So that's enough said right there. Regardless, last year, I remember they threw 5 touchdowns and 388 yards last year. Okay, so we remember that. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to let those things go and move on. And this is conference play, and we're ready to get into conference play and compete. We know the challenge. If it's North Carolina or whoever we play next week after that, they're coming in there to pass the ball on us, and it's up to us to stand in there and challenge guys and make plays on the ball.
Coach, thank you for